Hello again, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for Monday's edition of Alaska Weather on the 14th day of December 2020. I'm Dave Percy, a meteorologist with the National Weather Service, and I'll be hosting today's show. First graphic up, we still have the winter weather advisories out for the greater Fairbanks area there from the central Alaska Range westward into the across the Tanana to Galena on up into the Kobuk Valley, Koyukuk Valley, and also continues for the Koyukuk Valley, Upper Yukon Valley there, Yukon Flats, Fort Yukon up now across the Brooks Range and eastern North Slope as well as eastern Boulevard Sea Coast. And that winter weather advisory is out for tonight. And some areas ending a little sooner than others. It's out, I believe, on the Arctic coast until 9 a.m. Tuesday morning, and then ends over the, Fort Yukon, Yukon Flats area, and Chuck Yitzhak and all those locations there, I believe by midnight or a little earlier. And then I think in the Fairbanks area, it ends at midnight. Otherwise, there is a blizzard warning out until 6 a.m. Tuesday morning there for the western Arctic coast. There, winds 55 miles an hour, creating whiteout conditions and blowing snow. And in the advisory areas, looking at winds gusting anywhere from 40 to 50 miles an hour with blowing snow, not creating visibility as low as in that warning area there, but still down to less than a half mile at times. And other than that, that's the only areas with the advisories. And the heavy snow warning, or the winter storm warning that was out for the northern southeast coast has ended now a couple hours ago. And more precipitation lessening up there. And you can see a break on the south coast of the Panhandle, Prince of Wales Island into Dixon Entrance there, ahead of the next front that's pushing mostly into the Queen Charlottes with the low center well to the southwest. But moisture streaming up from the bent-back occlusion there, right up across Kodiak Island, spreading in across southern Alaska as well. And then old moisture out there along the southwest coast, bringing a little bit of light snow there. And another break there for the Pribilofs to the eastern Aleutians, and then another weakening frontal system moving into the central Aleutians State, a little bit stronger one there, bearing down on Shemya. But the low center is well to the south there. You can see on the satellite imagery there, it's off to the southwest on the first graphic here, the surface chart of Shemya, and the first one just a weak trough with a little bit of light precipitation, not much in the way of winds of any significance there. Still very windy today up across the central interior to the western Arctic coast there, tight gradient. That's why they have the blizzard warning out for the blowing snow with the winds gusting 55 miles per hour. Right into the western Brooks Range as well, and along and south across the Kobuk, Koyukuk Valley into the upper Yukon Valley, on down into the central upper Tanana Valley 40-mile country, and then much less of a breeze there over the Copper River Basin, but dry conditions. And that old front came up and is dying now along the coast, just got it dashed in as a trough there along the North Gulf Coast into the Panhandle, and a distinct lack of storminess out there over the Bering Sea with that weak low over the Alaska Peninsula, which tonight will track off to the northwest, and I'll keep it cloudy with periods of light snow or light snow showers. And I want to emphasize light there for the area from Dillingham, Togak Bay, up across the southwest interior, St. Lawrence Island, and Norton Sound, Seward Peninsula, and maybe some flurries getting in toward Kotzebue and on the north shore of the Seward Peninsula, Shishmaref area onto Selawik, and then just isolated snow showers in that area that extends in toward the eastern interior, dry for the north slope, and still the snow and blowing snow going on there, but conditions in the interior gradually improving, especially over the eastern and southeast areas that still have the winter weather advisory going, and basically dry over the Panhandle, that system keeping it damp in the south there, with rain or snow that'll be shifting in, and it'll be dry off to the north. And a weak low center pushes in toward the central Aleutians, but small craft advisory level winds, and that's about it with that, and some rain rain or snow. That continues fairly weak as far as it's not very intense, 984 millibars. That's a pretty respectable value on the low center there, but not much of a gradient with it. An even weaker system there on the southwest coast continues to weaken there and almost becomes stationary. Keeps it kind of a few skiffs of snow, probably snow showers, areas of light snow, western interior, dry to the east and still breezy up to the northwest. And that system hanging off the southern coast of the Panhandle will spread moisture farther to the north in the form of rain or snow mixed depending on elevation, latitude, and time of day. And then for Wednesday, got snow showers, or rain and snow showers, spread out across much of the Panhandle there, becoming more scattered and lighter in nature up to the north. And then down to the south, better chance of seeing it mixed with rain or just all rain at sea level. And some snow showers sneak into the southeast interior, Copper River Basin along the Alaska Range, but basically the interior stays dry. And the next system spreading rain, moderate rain, along the south coast of the Alaska Peninsula, approaching Kodiak Island late in the day. Lows for tonight, look for 20 to 25 below up over the North Slope and Eastern Brooks Range, and anywhere from 0 to 15 below Eastern Interior to near 0 in the Central Interior. Single numbers of lower teens all the way up to Yukon Delta Coast. Mid-30s Kodiak Island, 15 to 25 South Central Alaska, and 20 to 35 for the Panhandle. Highs for tomorrow stays below 0 Eastern Interior, over toward the border, right up to the Brooks Range and the Arctic Coast and North Slope. Temperatures near 40 down toward southern Kenai Peninsula, Homer, Seldovia, Port Moller, and in the 30s for Prince William Sound, and as high as the mid-40s for the Panhandle, mid-30s for the Alaska Peninsula. Lows the following morning, either side of 0 there for the Tanana Valley and the Central Interior, 10 to 15 below, not much change for the Brooks Range to the Arctic Coast, and then highs stay below 0.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Hi everyone, this is meteorologist Joel Curtis with your aviation weather. Starting out on Tuesday morning, an extensive area of IFR from the Seward Peninsula across Norton Sound down into southwest Alaska. Also, we have some IFR in the western and central Aleutians with the approaching weather system. IFR conditions for Kodiak Island, northern Cook Inlet, Prince William Sound, and just off the coast of southeast Alaska. By Tuesday afternoon, that area of IFR has moved further into the Bering Sea, including the eastern Aleutians, some from St. Lawrence Island down into southwest Alaska, also over the central interior down into northern Cook Inlet. Also, we have IFR conditions now moving into the southern part of the Panhandle. By Wednesday morning, extensive IFR over the Bering Sea, including St. Lawrence and the Pribilofs. Also, southwest Alaska, down across the Alaska Peninsula into Kodiak Island, northern Cook Inlet, western Kenai Peninsula, and along the Alaska Range. Also, we have an area of IFR along the North Slope and for about the southern half or so of the Panhandle. By Wednesday afternoon, extensive IFR again over the Bering Sea, across the Alaska Peninsula, almost all of the Aleutians, the eastern coast of Kodiak Island, and all of the Alaska Panhandle. Past conditions on Tuesday: Anaktuvik, VFR. Adigan, VFR. Lake Clark, marginal VFR. Merrill Pass, IFR. Rainy Pass, IFR. Windy Pass, marginal VFR becoming IFR. Isabel Pass, marginal VFR. Mentasta Pass, marginal VFR. Tanita Pass, IFR. Portage Pass, IFR. Chilkoot and White Pass, both VFR. Our freezing levels Tuesday morning, surface for most of the state. You do see a 2,000-foot freezing level for Prince of Wales Island, and then getting down to Dixon Entrance, it rises up to 4,000 feet. For icing on Tuesday, much of the state has isolated moderate icing below 8,000 feet. For the Cape Newenham area, there is some considerable moderate icing between 3,000 and 10,000 feet. Also for the Aleutians area, between 3,000 and 8,000 feet, with one small area of considerable moderate. Also for the Panhandle, between 2,000 and 6,000 feet, and two areas of considerable moderate. Our jet stream on Tuesday, southerlies over south central up to 85 knots. Westerlies over the northeastern interior, 70 knots. Through the Bering Strait, easterlies 60 knots. Across the Alaska Peninsula, west-northwest wind, 70 knots. Into the Panhandle, a little bit of easterlies, probably about 50 knots or so. Then south of the Aleutians, we have the main part of the jet, 120 knots. At 9,000 feet, we have a circulation system over southwest Alaska, around 20 to 30 knots around that circulation system, including 20 knot southerlies over the eastern side of Norton Sound. Along the north slope, we have easterlies at 40 knots. For the Panhandle, southeast wind, 35 to 45 knots around that low circulation. And the main wind at 9,000 feet, 60 knots south of the Aleutians. At 3,000 feet, we have that circulation in the southeast, wind speeds ranging from 55 all the way down to 30 knots. Over the central interior, southerlies at 30 knots. At Kotzebue Sound, easterlies at 50, and along the north slope up to 55 knots. Also that circulation around the Aleutians, a low-level jet around 65 knots. And our turbulence on Tuesday. A significant area below 6,000 feet at isolated severe, starting at Kotzebue Sound and working to the east. Also, we have an area of considerable moderate below 4,000 feet down into southwestern Alaska, below 3,000 feet for the Aleutians, and considerable moderate below 2,000 feet in the southern Panhandle. That's our aviation weather. Thanks for tuning in.
In Alaska, the airplane is basically our pickup truck. It's our family van.
We don't have roads that go to most of the communities here.
Aircraft are what get the goods around, get the people around.
So aviation is a lifeblood, absolute lifeblood.
It really is the only way to get around the entire state.
So whether it's food or supplies, and a lot of times even medical attention, people would die without aviation in Alaska.
We know that aviation accidents in Alaska are a large number, just by the nature of the terrain, the nature of the weather, the nature that there's no place to really just land when the engine quits. There was a study done based on Bureau of Transportation statistics about accidents in Alaska. What they found was that pilots, if they had talked to a flight service station, that they were 4 times less likely to be involved in an accident and 8 times less likely to be involved in a fatal accident. As a pilot, I want to be talking to these guys that they're going to keep me out of harm's way. And that's what we do.
Alaska Flight Service is a great tool for us here as pilots in Alaska, basically being our eyes and ears to tell us what's down the road on our flight plan.
Our whole mission is about safety, and it's about getting the correct information to the pilots so that they can make a solid go, no-go decision.
As we like to say, service is our middle name. We are flight service stations. We try and make it one-stop shop for a pilot. We have easy communications, and we will provide whatever service it is you need at that point in time.
I would say about probably 80% of what we do is weather dissemination and dissemination of NOTAMs and other adverse conditions that the pilots need to know about. We also do their flight plan filing, and we do search and rescue.
We try and be the best. We try and provide that service in a way that nobody else can provide it.
And we have 17 flight service stations, 3 hubs and 14 that are located in remote locations. And by having these facilities located remotely, it gives pilots access. They trust this access implicitly, because their eyes on the field, where they're operating out of, where they're going to be going to, they know they've got somebody there that they can trust.
We know somebody's looking out for us, and that if something unfortunate were to happen, they at least have an idea where to start looking for us. It's a great tool, great resource, a lot of great folks in flight service.
I really like doing what I'm doing here because you have that immediate feedback of what impact you have on the lives of everybody in that town or village or passing through. We make a difference every day you go out there.
To actually provide a service is what I think I enjoy the most of it. To hear a pilot say, hey, thank you so much, is really why I came up here. Up here in Alaska, the pilots really do appreciate us, and we really appreciate them.
The saying, a picture's worth 1,000 words, is definitely true here in Alaska with the weather camera program.
Being able to see before you go is worth $1 million.
We've got cameras in places where we don't have any other weather information, and being able to look at that picture, we can make that go, no-go decision before we ever get in the airplane, before we put ourselves in danger.
You can get in a lot of trouble in the old days of going out and take a look, because you just don't know what's out there.
Gone are the old days of flying around in circles, back and forth halfway to a site. Now you just look at the cameras. When it's time to go, you can go. The weather camera program has improved safety immensely in the state of Alaska and efficiency. When a pilot flies out to take a look, they're flying out, they're burning fuel, they're using up airtime, and they're taking chances with their lives and their passengers' lives, not knowing what the weather is. Since we put the cameras in now, safety has increased dramatically. We have 230 camera sites with 3 to 4 cameras at each site. We have about 1,000 cameras total that the FAA manages. And then we also are hosting cameras from NAV Canada, about 275 sites. I want to show you our remote powered system. So a lot of locations in Alaska, there's no power. So we've designed a system that provides adequate power year-round in Arctic conditions. We have solar and wind power on this platform, as well as a fuel cell generator. Weather cameras, that's what we do here. Yeah, so we're pretty proud of it. Nobody leaves the ground before they've looked at the weather cameras.
Weather camera program has saved a lot of lives, saved a lot of money, and we love the weather camera program.
Every morning, millions of Americans wake up with the same question: what's the weather going to be today? All day, every day, weather information is updated to create timely and reliable forecasts around the country. But where do weather predictions come from? Every weather forecast begins with millions of bits of NOAA data. NOAA weather satellites observe the Earth's clouds and atmosphere from space. These satellites continuously scan the surface of the Earth, collecting data about the atmosphere, land, and ocean. The data is transmitted to NOAA's Satellite and Information Service, where a team of scientists and supercomputers process it through complex algorithms. Weather forecasts rely on data from satellites combined with measurements from the land, sea, and sky. The information is fed into weather models that run a series of complex equations used to predict future weather patterns. NOAA's National Weather Service then analyzes this data. NOAA provides weather data and information to the public and private sector, who all use free, reliable NOAA data in their forecasts, which come to you through your local TV station or wherever you get your news. We all depend on this information in our daily lives. Every weather forecast begins with NOAA data.
And now,
Welcome back. Today's sea ice analysis. Easterly winds there creating a thinner ice zone from the central Arctic coast on off to the west, a little bit to the southwest, and to a much lesser extent there from about Wainwright on down to south of Point Lay. And Bering Strait, kind of oscillating around with the ice just south of the strait there. And closing off, continuing to slowly close off there southeast of Wrangel Island. Coastal water forecast. Gales for the south coast tomorrow. East, 40-knot winds, 20 to 25-foot seas. And then as you head north, winds diminish in the extreme north coast, looking north at 15. Lynn Canal, Glacier Bay, northerlies 30 knots, gust of 45 knots. Stevens Passage, northeast at 25. And gale warnings out for Clarence Strait for southeast winds 35 knots. And for Wednesday, small craft advisories on the north coast, west 25 knots and 20-knot winds on the central and south coast from the west. And southeast 20 for Clarence Strait, Stevens Passage east at 15. And north 20 for Lynn Canal. Cook Inlet, pretty light winds out of the northeast at 10 knots. Southern Cook Inlet, south of the Forelands, north at 15. Kamishak Bay, northeast, 20 knots. Barren Islands, northwest at 20. And west-northwest winds for the North Gulf Coast at 15 knots with 10 to 12-foot seas. Northwest 15 for Prince William Sound, seas 2 feet or less. Outlook for Wednesday. Prince William Sound, north 15. Small craft advisories for the North Gulf Coast. Winds forecast out of the northwest, 25 knots, seas 10 feet. And small craft advisories of Barren Island, southwest at 30. Gales for Kamishak Bay, northeast, kicking up to 35 knots with 10-foot seas. And also for Southern Cook Inlet, we've got small craft advisories just under gale force at 30 knots from the north and north 15. For Northern Cook Inlet, Kodiak Island, west winds 20 knots for the day Tuesday. And Bristol Bay all the way down to Cape Sarachev there along the Bering Sea side of the Alaska Peninsula. Southwest wind 15 knots, 4 to 5-foot seas. 20-knot winds there on the Pacific side of the peninsula from the southwest. Big increase in the winds there on Wednesday. Full gales southeast 40 knots, 18-foot seas from Cape Sarachev to Castle Cape to Sitkinak. Southeast 30 knots, and then gales there for Kodiak Island. Southerlies 35 knots, seas 11 feet. And Bristol Bay east at 30 knots. And for the Fox Islands, Unalaska Island, southeast 20 knots, Bering Sea side, Pacific side, small craft advisory, southwest 25 knots. Unmak Island, west-southwest 30 to 35 knots. Adak and Atka, west-southwest 25 to 40 knots. And then small craft advisory, 25-knot winds there from the south and west from Mchitka to Shimei and Attu. And for Wednesday, Shimei, Attu to Kiska, southwest 20 knots, Mchitka Island, southwest 25. Central Aleutians, westerlies 20 to 30 knots, seas up to 12 feet. And strongest winds, Fox Islands will be Pacific side of things there with west-south westerlies of 40 to 45 knots with seas up to 16 or 17 feet. And for the southwest coast tomorrow, winds west 10 to 15 knots, 2 to 4-foot seas, southerlies of 15 for the Pribilof Islands, south 10, St. Matthew Island, and easterlies at 20. For St. Lawrence Island, brisk wind advisories for Norton Sound with those 25-knot east winds. That holds through Wednesday for Norton Sound and kicks up to 25 knots from the east for St. Lawrence Island. Otherwise, the southwest coast, 20 to 30 knots out of the east, 20 to 30 knots also for the Pribilofs and St. Matthew Island. Brisk wind advisory central and east side of the Arctic coast tomorrow, and also on the west side, then it goes to gales from Cape Beaufort to Cape Thompson. Cape Thompson to Wales east at 30 knots. And then for Wednesday, stays pretty windy, especially on the central and west side, with full gales at east at 40 knots there, say from Point Lay or so all the way down to Cape Thompson, and then from there to Wales, we got east at 30 knots, central coast northeast 30 knots. For tonight again, system spreads more moisture into the southern peninsula with increasing winds. Stays fair and less breezy in the north, and chance of rain or snow showers, western Prince William Sound, pretty light, and some light snow with a weakening low there along the Yukon Delta coast. Extends from Togiak Bay right up across the Seward Peninsula and into the possibly Kobuk Valley with just isolated snow showers further to the east. For Tuesday, that system still off the south coast of the Panhandle, rain and snow there. Winds not too bad. A little more breezy, tighter gradient, Lynn Canal, so winds will pick up there, but conditions will be dry and chilly over the northern interior of the state. Mostly dry, but not all that cold for southern Alaska, and chance of snow continues along the west coast. And drier out that way for Wednesday, and still a chance of rain and snow showers with that weak system for the southeast coast.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.